Oh, not everybody. This is Zach here, back with another NBA DFS episode focused on the Draftkings slate. Tonight begins at 6 p.m. Central Time, and we have a pretty good 6-game slate. So, as always, trying to provide you with my thoughts and analysis and the picks that I think are best for your single lineup builds. Just again, trying to focus on building one lineup rather than using an optimizer and trying to gain exposure to everybody out there in the field. That's just not my style of play. I've always kind of been a one lineup build type of person and trying to make some big bucks making one lineup. So let's just go ahead and jump into my favorite plays for today's slate on March the 13th. So first, I always like to highlight my favorite games, which games I like to target. Today, it was pretty easy to highlight those. So we have Toronto versus Charlotte. Toronto, of course, being still very shorthanded, missing a lot of their key players like Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby. All of those guys are going to be out for Toronto. So that's going to force a higher usage rate on some of those other Toronto players. And of course, in a very good matchup, should be a pretty fast-paced matchup with Charlotte, who gives up quite a few of DFS points. So looking to highlight some of the key players from that Toronto team. Next game on my favorite game list is going to be Sacramento versus Atlanta. Now, Sacramento is probably the best team to pick on in DFS, and Atlanta is not far behind. So I'm definitely going to be having a lot of pieces from these two games as well. Key injuries for these games on Atlanta, still, of course, missing Cam Reddish. And then with Sacramento, they are missing Hassan Whiteside. Halliburton is back for the Kings. I think he only saw about 18 minutes of run last game, but that is going to impact players like De'Aaron Fox, who's been balling out of control lately. Maybe his usage comes a little bit down, and players like Buddy Hield, everybody else on the wing, that Halliburton coming back into the rotation might have an impact to those players. But Sacramento versus Atlanta should definitely have a ton of DFS points to go around. So one of the games I am targeting this slate as well. And then the last game is going to be Portland versus Minnesota. Slight blowout concern. Portland, obviously the better team right now, but Minnesota is missing Malik Beasley as well as D'Angelo Russell. So some key usage to go out around there as well. And then, of course, on the Portland side, Damian Lillard just continues to be crazy great, scoring ridiculous numbers every night. So someone I am looking at as well. So let's go ahead and jump into my favorite plays on the slate, starting out with the stud. So my favorite studs, this is going to be everybody in the 9K plus range. Starting at the very top, I do have some interest in the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, at 11K. Now, blowout concern is definitely a risk here. Washington is on the tail end of a back-to-back, so that is something to look out for. But this is probably one of those games where Greek Freak can probably post 25 points, 15 rebounds, a couple of blocks in the first 3 quarters, and probably gets you enough value in 3 quarters where he doesn't need to play the 4th quarter. Of course, that does cap his upside a little bit, but I see nobody on Washington that's going to be able to even come close to containing him or stopping him. Again, blowout concern is definitely a risk. And at 11K, of course, you'd want the full 4 quarters for Giannis, but I think he can probably get you 50 points in 3 quarters. And if that's what you're looking for in your single build lineup approach, I feel pretty confident in that Giannis can get there. And then if this game happens to stay close and Giannis gets some 4th quarter run, then he can definitely, eclipse 60-point upside and have one of those ceiling games. But yeah, no one on Washington's gonna be able to stop Greek Freak from just doing whatever he wants. And I do kind of have some interest in him at 11K. Going right underneath him, Nikola Jokic. So he's not in one of my favorite games, but kind of the same thing with Giannis, right? No one on Dallas is going to be able to contain Jokic here down low. So at 10.8, I do have some interest in Jokic as well. This game should stay a little bit closer as far as competition is concerned. Um, Although Denver is by far the superior team, but I have more confidence in Dallas keeping the game somewhat close than I do Washington keeping the game a little bit closer. So yeah, Jokic at 10.8 is someone else that I would have some interest in at the center position. Although, as we'll see upcoming, the center position is definitely loaded on tonight's slate. So there might be some better plays at center, but if you want to pay up for a stud at center, Jokic is for sure my guy. Then going right underneath him, Damian Lillard at 10.7. Like I mentioned earlier, Damian Lillard is one of the more underrated players in the league, as LeBron said in the All-Star break. But he just continues to put up big numbers, huge numbers. No one on Minnesota is going to be able to guard him. And if his shot is falling, he can have another 50-plus point game. At 10.7, that price is definitely up there for someone who needs to score like 30, 35 real life points to get you the value that you're looking for at this price tag, right? He's not going to get many rebounds. Not going to put up crazy assist numbers or defensive numbers. But the thing is, there's a high probability that Lillard does score 30 plus real life points and can get you that value that you're looking for at 10.7. So yeah, I do have some interest in Damian Lillard as well. And then going down to the bottom, it's probably my favorite stud on this list is going to be Trae Young at 9.8. So I view Trae Young and Dame Lillard very similarly when it comes to DraftKings and DFS scoring, and that, again, both guys need to score a lot of real life points to kind of get you that value that you're looking for. And Trae Young, I feel, has a better matchup against Sacramento. I also feel, as far as competition and keeping the game close, Atlanta and Sacramento is probably my favorite game out of all of them. And I do like Trae Young a lot in this spot. He's been balling the last couple of games right before the All-Star break. Really balling, doing really well. And I do have some high interest in Trae Young at 9.8. Again, out of all the four studs here, Trae Young would probably be my favorite stud at 9.8. I think he drops a 50 bomb tonight against the Kings, and upside for maybe that 60 plus if his shot's really falling. All right, so moving into my favorite upper mid-range plays. These are going to be plays from the 7K to 9K range, and a lot of these players in this mid-range are going to be players from those three target games that I really like. So starting at the top, we have Kyle Lowry at 8.7K. Now I will note this price is getting up there to where I'm not as comfortable putting in there. I think there are some better spots, especially at a loaded point guard position. But again, Toronto's really shorthanded due to COVID and due to injuries, but they're missing Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, three really high usage rate guys. And so at 8.7, Kyle Lowry is having to kind of do everything at his position. He has a really good matchup against Charlotte. And I definitely don't see why he can't get, 40, 45, maybe even 50 DK points tonight. Only thing is, again, point guard is really loaded in his price for his value. I think there are maybe some better point per dollar plays out there, but I definitely wanted to list Kyle Lowry here as well as part of that Toronto group that I like. Going down to the next stage in the 7K range at 7.5, we have Mr. Clint Capella. I do really like pairing him up with Trae Young in this Atlanta versus Sacramento game. Clint Capella, just a beast, gets a lot of rebounds, no Whiteside for the Kings. They do stop, of course, Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley, but I do think Capella can eat here at 7.5 and get you, that 5x value that you're looking for at this price tag. Probably even more. I can definitely see him dropping 40 points here relatively easily. And so I do like Capella at his price as well a lot at 7.5. Next play that we're looking at is going to be Mr. Norman Powell. As I just mentioned with Kyle Lowry, all the injuries, all the COVID related stuff out. Norman Powell, people don't really want to pay this much for him, but just look at his recent game log. This guy's been putting up high 30s, low 40 DK points pretty consistently. And again, really good matchup on the wings against Charlotte. I do like Norman Powell here as well as a really good filler option at that small forward position if you need him. Yeah, I don't think he'll get too much ownership because people are going to kind of get that sticker shock approach at this price tag, right? I want to pay that much for Norman Powell. I think Gordon Hayward's right there as well. But if I had to pick between Gordon Hayward and Norman Powell, I'm definitely picking Norman Powell out of those two. Again, just because the usage rate for Powell right now is going to be, ridiculous with all the people out for Toronto. So I do like Norman Powell as well at 7-3. And then routing out this range, another center, Enes Kanter at 7-2. Enes Kanter has always been the guy when he gets the run, he's going to put up big DFS numbers, and he's getting all the run right now with Nurkic out and not disappointing in that role. Has a great matchup against Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns, as skilled as he is offensively, we all know his defensive ability is limited at the most, right? So Kanter should definitely be able to get some easy buckets on some offensive rebounds. Just be really engaged out there on the court. I will say I definitely prefer Clint Capella to Enes Kanter for just $300 more. So in this range, my favorite play is definitely going to be Clint Capella at 1, probably Norman Powell at 2nd, Kanter and Lowry rounding at the bottom. But definitely like all these plays, if you have one spot left to fill and you have the money, slide one of these guys in there. I think it'll be just fine. Moving on to the lower mid-tier range, this is going to be players in the salary range from 5K to 7K. So go ahead and start at the top. Another center. Again, center is really, really loaded in my opinion tonight. Mr. Chris Boucher, another guy. When he gets the run, he's going to put up huge numbers. Toronto's missing all their players. He saw, I think, 30 minutes last game and got 50 DK points. So at 6.6K, definitely have some interest in Chris Boucher. Toronto's start has been starting Aaron Baines and then bringing Boucher off the bench. So we've seen his minutes be really inconsistent. So that definitely is the risk here. If they're going to give him inconsistent minutes, Charlotte's one of those teams I think could play a little bit more small ball, right? Rolling out PJ Washington at the 5, maybe forcing Toronto to go a little bit small as well. But if Boucher gets the minutes, man, he's going to put up huge numbers. And at 6.6, if he gets 25, 28 minutes, he's going to crush it at this price tag. And so another guy I really have some interest in as well at his price point. Then going underneath him to the Minnesota side of the ball, Anthony Edwards. So, Minnesota's missing Malik Beasley, missing D'Lo, and Anthony Edwards is really starting to get it going. The game seems to be slowing down for him quite a bit, and as far as getting used to the NBA speed, NBA type of game on the court. And we've seen, his stats go up pretty well recently. And so I think he's, Edwards, I feel like his stock is rising. And at 6.5K, I do have some strong interest here as well. I feel that if Minnesota wants a chance to keep this game close with Portland, it's going to be, they're going to need Anthony Edwards to definitely step up and help, Karl Anthony Towns as far as the scoring load and just providing being a playmaker out there. So I do have some interest in Anthony Edwards at 6.5 as well. Going underneath him, again, another center's loaded, but Richaun Holmes at 6.4K is someone I also have interest in. He put up some really big numbers the last couple of games. And again, no Hassan Whiteside. He's getting some pretty good run. I think they'll need him to match up with Clint Capella down there. And so I expect him to get, high 20, low 30 minutes. And at 6.4K, I think he's a great solid option to get you some great value off that price tag. Then rounding out this group, we have Mr. Rocco, Robert Covington at 5.6. Robert Covington, one of those guys, he's more of a kind of DN3 player, right? Not going to get you huge scoring totals, but he does quite enough of everything else, especially on the defensive side of the ball to make up for it. So getting you some steals, getting you some blocks, getting some assists in there, some rebounds, maybe putting up 12, 13, 14 points, real life points. And so all that together can definitely add up a scoring total in a pretty fast paced game, what I'm expecting. I do have some interest in Robert Covington here as well at 5.6. Now moving into my favorite scrubs. So this is everybody under 5K. And I think there's some really good value on this slate to where you probably can stud up on 1 or 2 studs and fill in with a solid mid play and then fill out the rest of your lineup with some of these scrub plays. But starting at the top, Jalen Now, we saw him put up a really big game last game. Again, no Malik Beasley, no D'Lo, so Jalen Now seems to be the prime benefactor of getting all the usage and minutes. He put up 40 DK points last game. Well, I'm definitely not expecting that again. I think he can definitely get you 25 points in this game, and 25 DK points, and that price tag on that 4.6 price tag, that would definitely pay off his value pretty well. So have some interest in Now, especially at a shooting guard position that seems to be semi weak today. I think Jalen Now could get some really good value off that price tag there. Going underneath him, we have Mr. Aaron Baines at 4.5K. So Aaron Baines has now put up 2 straight games of 30 plus DK points. Again, Toronto starting him, and a really good matchup against Charlotte. I know it's another center, but Aaron Baines might be one of my favorite center plays out of all the centers I've listed so far, just based off a value perspective. Again, 4.5K, put up 2 straight 30 DK point games. Good matchup. Nothing more I can really say for Aaron Baines. I expect him to hit at least 25 DK points in this matchup tonight, which would be a really, really good value as well. Now going out to my under 4K plays, and there's quite a few I like as well. Starting with Bogdanovic at 3.8. So Bogdanovic back from that injury that kept him out for a while. Atlanta has no Cam Reddish, but they do have quite a few other wing players like Danilo Gallinari, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter. But Bogdanovic is a guy that we saw was heavy in the rotation before his injury, was putting consistently around 30 DK points a game. And they came out and said that he did not have a minutes limit, although he has played, I think, under 20 minutes in both these games. He's been back, hasn't done great, hasn't put up really good DK numbers, but if he gets like full run tonight, this is definitely a guy that can smash that value tag, get close to 30 DK points, I feel, if he gets a full run. And in a really prime matchup against his old team, the Kings, if there's any news that comes out that he'll get, above 20 minutes or he's even starting or something like that, I definitely do like Bogdanovic because he's a much, much better player than this 3.8K price tag. It's just there is, of course, that minutes risk with him right now coming off that long injury. So that's Bogdanovic. Stanley Johnson has been playing really well recently. Also at 3.8K, he's another player that's just been benefiting from all these Toronto injuries and Toronto guys being out to COVID. But look at his game log last 2 games, put up some really, really solid DK numbers, and he can easily replicate that as well. There used to be a lot of hype around Stanley Johnson when he was with Detroit. Didn't quite pan out to that hype, but he's definitely has the physical tools and ability to make something happen out there. And again, he's put out some really good numbers last 2 games with all the guys being out for Toronto. So definitely don't mind Stanley Johnson at the power forward position if you need someone to throw in there to help build your roster as well. Right underneath him, we have Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels is definitely a hooper. Has been one of the key guys benefiting from no Malik Beasley. Again, no D'Lo, so that usage has to go somewhere. And McDaniels is a guy that also gets some run, during blowouts. So if you think this Portland game blows out and Portland smashes Minnesota, McDaniels can go in there, get some easy run, score against all the second unit guys pretty easily. And I do have some interest in Jaden McDaniels at 3.7K as well. And then rounding out my favorite scrubs, we have Mr. Saban Lee at 3.5K. So Saban Lee is probably my favorite guy on this whole scrub page and probably my favorite value play out of everybody as well. So no Dennis Smith Jr. tonight against Brooklyn. Saban Lee should get the starting nod and should definitely see a lot of usage. And we all know Saban Lee, when he gets some run, another one of those guys that just puts up DFS numbers in a hurry when he gets decent run. And so at 3.5K, if he gets at least 20 minutes of run, can easily smash this price tag here, put up 20, 25 DK points pretty easily, I feel, if not more. And again, one of my favorite, if not my favorite value piece on the entire slate tonight. and definitely my favorite scrub under 5K as well. So yeah, plug in some Saban Lee, get some Lee into your life, and let's make this money. And so that's everything I have for the DK slate tonight for March 13th. As always with NBA, make sure you watch the injury news, watch any crazy roster lineup changes or anything like that, right? If Saban Lee slides into the starting lineup, just lock him in. If Chris Boucher, some first round reason starts, just lock him in, right? But yeah, hopefully you use some of these players here, build your one lineup, your single lineup approach, and let's make this money tonight, guys.